An interesting piece of news came out in the tennis world this week, and that is that Alexander Bublik, a player who is currently ranked 55 on the ATP Tour, a player who has made over $1.3 million in prize money, he admitted, and I quote, "I hate tennis with all my heart. I only play for the money." I think as a tennis community, this is something that we should discuss, because this has a huge impact on professional players, aspiring pros, but also those players who would have loved to become a professional tennis player. There are millions of players around the world who love tennis with all their heart. They play whenever they have a chance, and for them, hearing this, it would be almost insulting that a professional player is admitting that he hates a sport and he's simply playing for the money. Now, of course, there will be many other players who simply play for the money, but if you compare those players to players like Djokovic, Federer and Nadal, who could have retired years ago with the prize money they have, with the endorsement money they have made, they could have retired 10, 15 years ago. They're still playing, they're still competing, and they're still winning Grand Slams. And that's because they have a deep passion for that competition, for the love of the game, and they're trying to build a legacy. This is a big difference in the mindset between a player who is 55 in a world struggling to really make an impact in the tennis world, and then you have three GOATs, three legends who have made their impact and are continuing to make that impact because they have that passion from within to get better, to improve, but mainly to win. Now, there are hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people that go to work every single day and hate their job and simply do it for a paycheck, simply do it to get by and to survive. This is the reality of the world that we live in. However, for a professional tennis player to come out and say that he hates tennis and that he only plays for the money, this is insulting for the millions of tennis players who would love to trade places with this guy, become a professional tennis player, commit their lives to becoming a better tennis player and having the chance to play with players like Federer, Nadal, Djokovic and many other great tennis players that we have currently on the ATP Tour. This guy has a chance to play against them, to play the biggest tournaments in the world, Wimbledon, the US Open, the French Open, the Australian Open. He has a chance to compete at all these massive events. And remember, tennis, you're going to the most luxurious locations. You're not going to a place where it's a war zone. You're playing in luxury stadiums around the world. You're competing against the best players in the world. Yes, it's a hard life. Yes, you have to train hard on a daily basis, but the rewards are great. And just that competitive spirit. If you're someone who loves to compete, imagine testing yourself against players like Federer, against players like Djokovic. You have the ability within yourself to test, how good am I? How good can I be? If I beat this player Djokovic, if I beat this player Nadal, what does that make me in the world? Just that passion alone should be driving him to test himself, to see how good he is and where he can leave his mark on the sport. Now, I posted this yesterday on Love Tennis, on the Instagram and on Facebook, and we had a lot of comments. The engagement was massive on this post. A lot of people were disgusted by what he said, but also a huge amount of people supported him for being very honest. And it is a very honest statement to come out and say that you hate the sport that you play and you're only playing it for the money. There was also a bunch of people that said, well, I hate my job as well and I only do it for the money, so I completely understand him. So we have all these different sides. We have the side that are disgusted, the side that respects him for his honesty, and then the side that understands him because they're in a similar position. Now, a lot of other comments were saying Agassi also hated the sport and he only played because his dad forced him to play. Now, if you've read Andre Agassi's book, Open, you'll know that he struggled with his passion for tennis. He hated tennis until he was 29 years old and he got tested and they found crystal meth in his blood and he almost got banned for life. That was a bannable offense. That was almost the end of his career. He managed to get himself out of that issue that he had and he managed to get himself back on the tour competing, and he found a bigger passion in himself. So prior to that issue he had with the testing, he was playing mainly for himself, for selfish reasons. And after that, he ended up opening the Andre Agassi Foundation. He opened a bunch of schools in Las Vegas, and he has a huge charity base that he works with underprivileged kids. So his passion became, instead of playing for himself, he played for a much bigger purpose. And he found the love of tennis and that love of competing and winning, because every time he won, his kids were winning. The kids in his schools were getting more funding. So he had a bigger purpose, and this allowed him to find that passion, that inner drive, which made him become one of the greatest players of all time. If we look at his career after 29, he actually had a much better career in the second half of his career than in the first half. He won the French Open in 1999. He became the world #1 the same year. He ended up winning the US Open. He got to the final of Wimbledon, losing only to Sampras. And he ended up having a couple more slams in his 30s. And this was something that was a massive achievement for a player who said he hated tennis growing up. Now, what does everyone out there think? I want to hear what you guys think about this whole subject, about players admitting that they hate the sport and how they're still professionals, they're still making good money. Because let's face it, 1.3 million by the age of 22 is not a bad feat at all. So leave your comments below, let me know your opinions, your thoughts, and I'd love to read all of them and make hopefully a follow-up video in the coming weeks about this whole subject. Now for me, this also sounds like someone who has a silver spoon in their mouth. This player is making good money, he's traveling the world, he's doing what almost seems like a dream job for millions of people, and he's complaining that he doesn't like the sport. Now, he should go and try working in the real world for a week, a month. Let him go and work from 9 till 5 or from 8 till 6, the longer hours in an office. Or let him go and clean toilets for a whole week. Let him see how the reality of hustling, trying to get by week to week, let him live that life for a while. Let him see how hard it is for millions, hundreds of millions of people living day by day and trying to survive. And here he is complaining that he's a professional tennis player and living a dream lifestyle. Yes, the training is hard. I understand that. I myself have been through that kind of training. I would train 6, 7, 8 hours a day when I was younger. Now I know how hard it is, but I still went through it because I had that passion. That drive came from within. So for me, hearing someone say this, it almost seems like he's being pushed into tennis. Maybe his parents have forced him into tennis and he actually doesn't like it that much, but he became very good at it. And this is quite common. You'll see a lot of parents, pushy parents, they'll push their children into the sport. The child doesn't actually like the sport, but they carry it on to make the parents happy, and eventually that child will then become quite good if they stick to it. Now this could be the case here, and if it is, then I feel quite sorry for him, because he's playing someone else's dream. He's living the dream of the parents. This is a very common thing in tennis, and it seems to be more prevalent in a sport like tennis than in other sports like football, or in the US, as you would call it, soccer. Now once again, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm giving you my opinion, this is just from my side, how I see things, but how do you see the whole picture? How do you see his admittance that he hates the sport? Leave your comments below this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below, tell us what kind of content you want to see from us in the near future, slow motion clips, court level hitting of which player, which stroke do you want to see in slow motion. Leave those comments down below this video. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and make sure you turn on that notification bell. Without that bell being switched on, YouTube simply won't let you know that we've released a video. So it's almost like a subscriber, but wasting your subscription. Signing off, Simon from Love Tennis. All the best, guys, and see you soon.